gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am your host, Data T, and this is my channel, The Good Guys. Guys, today's story comes out of Seattle, Washington, and the title reads, Dad Hurt in Shootout with Attempted Robbers in Seattle with Wife and his kids nearby. I think this is a nightmare for all fathers, for all men who have a family. And we just hope that we get out of it a good result, and that result meaning your family is safe. This is in lack of regard of your own life. You could care less if you made it, so long as your family does. And I think all good men, all men who have families, fathers, family men, I think they would agree with that. Before we get into today's story, guys, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, leaving a comment, subscribe, and you can hit me on Twitter. We can talk. And let's get into today's story.
Are they scared? They say the area has become very dangerous. A shootout with a father versus two men who tried robbing him outside his home caught on camera. It happened on South Thistle Street. The footage is from Philip Wynn, who owns Rose Street Auto Repair nearby.
This neighborhood is really bad. Crime around here, it's getting worse. Before that, it's not happened like this.
Seattle police say the man and his wife were taking out their kids from the back seat of their car when the two suspects came up and tried robbing them at gunpoint. The same footage shows two men pulling up in this car. We're being told the father pulled out his own gun and the three started shooting. He was shot 3 times and was sent to Harborview. The suspects took off, something that's worrying Wynn.
I'm kind of
Guys, before he before the shop owner talks, this is a reality that all family men face. I said it earlier in the beginning of this video, but I want you to think about this. For me, this reminds me of the scene where, and forgive me from going to the world of comic books in the DC universe, but this reminds me of when Bruce Wayne, Martha, and Thomas Wayne were outside of a theater, and this man with a gun came to rob them. I think criminals start there that would do this, would take a moment of weakness when you are with your family and try to rob you. I think it is a very heinous act. I think people who do that, honestly, they should get the death penalty. You rob someone or you hurt an individual when their family is present, I think it should rise to the level of a hate crime. That's just my opinion, okay? But when you are in that position, us as men, we know that the role of protector must come in. It has to come in immediately. This is why most of the time we see fathers, okay, usually in that family dynamic, we are usually the ones armed. Okay, we take that role literally of provide and protect. And so in this case where he had to shoot and he had to protect his family, it is something that every man, I think, knows that one day he may have to resort to violence to protect his family. And kudos to him for being able to have his firearm. He thought about it well enough to have his firearm and to shoot back. Let's hear what the shop owner has to say.
afraid that they may come back or whatever like that, to do something, break the car outside, break into the business.
We spoke to one person who lives in the same building as the victim and says he came home right after the shooting happened.
This is the first time I see blood, somewhat blood in here, so it is very scary.
It's a second shooting he's seen since moving in.
This neighborhood is very scary.
Now, the kids and also the wife were not harmed. At this time, we're not being told the condition of the father. Live in Seattle tonight, Mo Hyder, Como News.
Okay, guys, so I do want to read a little bit of what actually happened here. In the aftermath, what did the father do? Okay, when I read this report, when he was lying out in the street, okay, this is a different piece here, but part of what I had read about was that he actually had to put tourniquets on to his own, to his legs. If we go to the Twitter story, let's see, it should be here. Let's look at this here, guys. Okay. What we see here is the victim, who had already put a tourniquet on one of his legs, was helped by an officer until medics from Seattle Department arrived and took him to Harborview Medical Center. All right. But luckily his wife and children were unharmed. Okay. He exchanged the gunfire. He was hit once in each leg with a third gunshot, one to his feet. And this man was prepared, guys. Okay. He was prepared. And thank goodness, this guy, he may not, and you all may think that he did not have the intended outcome, or he didn't have the outcome that we would have wanted, but he did. He had the outcome of, one, his family was safe. Okay, we don't know his particular outcome, whether he is alive or not, but I guarantee you, he would rather be dead and his family alive than him to survive and his family had perished. And I will say, he is the good guy. He is absolutely 100% a good guy that we could all look up to and say, this man protected his family. Good job, sir. Well done. And it is something that I would say I am very proud of this man for him being able to do this. And his family should be proud of him as well. He had the foresight enough, guys, to buy a gun. That's number one. He had the foresight enough to have a tourniquet. Or in the very case, he knew how to make one on the fly. But he sounded like a very prepared individual. I guess the only problem here is he was living in a very bad neighborhood. Okay, we don't know when neighborhoods get tough. Believe it or not, we hear all the time on this channel, all the time, where people say, oh, I didn't know, or I'm very surprised. Usually things like this don't happen, but it did. And for his case, I'll say it one more time, he was prepared. He is a good guy. He is a good guy, and only good guys do stuff like this. Only good guys will protect their family. Only good men will take up the responsibility of keeping and bearing arms. Only good men do things like this. And if good men do nothing, there will be no good guys.